All right, for today's video, I am sailing on a Wednesday morning, and it's a beautiful day up in the mountains, and the winds are very light coming from the north, so I'm currently heading to the south end of the lake on a broad reach. And I must say, I love this morning time and like in the evening when you get that reflection off the water of the sun and it just kind of makes the little wavelets glisten. I really enjoy that when I'm out on the boat. So there's a cove coming up on the port side, and in a second, since the winds are light, I'm going to go ahead and make a turn to port and go into that cove. So I make my turn and basically transition to a beam reach and then sail into this cove. And you can see as you're going into the cove, there's rocks on the right side, on the starboard side, and rocks on the left side. So either side has rocks. And then straight ahead, it's kind of like a grassy area. So as I enter the cove, of course, the winds start to pick up a little bit. And so the boat starts accelerating, which, there's still plenty of room, but I hadn't really anticipated that. But it's just what happens in the mountains. So I'm making my way to the end of the cove, and it's about 40 feet deep here, 40, 50 feet. So I'm going to just keep heading into the cove, and then eventually I get to the end, and I go ahead and do a jibe to starboard. I could have done a tack to port, but there was just more room on the starboard side, so I went ahead and did a jibe. So you get a great view of the surrounding area here. Pull the jib over to the port side. And so now I'm sailing again on a beam reach on a starboard tack. So the one issue with jibing is that now I do have a lee shore that I have to watch out for. The wind is blowing me toward the rocks. So I sail out of the cove, and as soon as I'm clear of the rocks, I go ahead and make a turn back toward the south. So again, heading downwind down the lake. And I want to make a close pass on these rocks, so I go ahead and jibe so that I am going downwind on a port tack, and that allows me to head up and basically head more toward the port side to cut a little closer to these rocks. So if I didn't do that, if I kept the boom on the port side and was on a starboard tack, then if I tried to turn more to port, tried to head up, then I'd have to worry about an accidental jibe. So even though I'm still going dead downwind, wing to wing, by going ahead and doing the jibe now, if I need to turn to port, it's going to be easier to do that. So I continue downwind, wing on wing. Here I'm pulling on the lazy sheet because I noticed that there was a little bit of tension on the lazy sheet, and sometimes when the wind is really, really light, just the weight of the sheets themselves will keep you from getting the sail shape that you really want. And then you can see another big rock that I'm coming up on here on the port side again. And setting up for another close pass. And you can see the boom start to kind of waver a little bit, so I'm getting really close to having an accidental jibe here. So the wind has shifted a little bit. And so now to turn away from the rock, I am going to have to jibe. So you can see the boom start coming over. And I go ahead and grab the main sheet and just bring it over. So a nice close pass to the rocks. And the water here is like between 40 and 60 feet deep, so it is not shallow because it's basically a flooded canyon. All right, so I continue downwind down the lake. And now I got to turn a little bit to port, so I'm just trying to make my way in between that big rock and the shore. Always very cool to see the military aircraft flying over the lake. All right, so this is the gap that I'm trying to shoot between. So I go ahead and do another jibe, and again, because I'm trying to turn a little bit to the starboard. So winds at this point very, very light, and the boat's moving pretty slow. Here I'm just checking, to make sure I don't see any rocks reaching up from the bottom. I've shot through here many times before, but it's been a while. So this rock is huge. I don't know if the camera really does it justice, but when you're going by it, it's a really, really large, rock outcropping. So I know there's some rocks on the left side, on the port side, so I do try to stay a little bit to the right. So there you can see some of the rocks on the port side. And there's where I came from. That's a big rock. So yeah, so I'm through. All right, there's another cove on the port side there. And I've been in there many times as well. That one gets a little shallow. All right, so at that point, I just keep heading down the lake toward the south. I did a ton of sailing wing on wing in this episode. All right, well, as always, hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.